Hello guys, today I have another interesting video idea, and this one is a very exciting video for me because it is introducing Yu Yu Hakusho to the channel. And if you don't know, Yusuke Urameshi along with Yuichi Katagiri, they are literally my main bannermen on my channel, as you can see if you open up a laptop or maybe look on your TV or something like that. But yeah, they are my bannermen, which is insane because I have not posted a single video on Yusuke Urameshi or Yu Yu Hakusho as a whole outside of maybe short format. I think I did post a short format video, but yeah, it is insane that I have not done that. And I decided to put Kuwabara up against Satoru Gojo from Jujutsu Kaisen. Now, I won't lie, this is another stomp, and I even make it clear in the title, and probably the thumbnail as well when I get done making it. The thing is, I actually think that both of these characters are quite underrated. They are downplayed pretty badly. Some people actually think that fucking Kuwabara caps at island level. Some people think that Gojo is city to multi-city block at best with like fucking faster and sound speeds. Like, what? That does not make any damn sense if I'm keeping it real. Anyways, before I get into the scaling, you guys should know that I am trying to get my channel to 2,500 subscribers, so please like, subscribe, share my video, and be sure to also comment as to help me with the algorithm. Whether you disagree or agree, that is completely fine. I am simply here for the funsies of it. Just remain respectful. Now, getting into the power scaling, the reason I feel people are biased towards Gojo is because creation feats are a thing that people always use to upscale characters, but then when it comes to Jujutsu Kaisen, they insist on ignoring it for the sake of raw visuals, which is insane. Like, you're gonna argue attack potency exists for other verses, but not for this verse? That shit is ass. Now, what's really ass is that I have not seen it in between. People either wank the shit out of Gojo, they either downplay the shit out of Gojo. Like, seriously, there are some people who believe he's universal because of the statement saying that they depicted his domain as the swath of a universe to make it more godlike. Now, my issue with that, and my friend Fights Paradises, the known JJK wanker, actually has an issue with this as well. The swath of the universe. First off, the swath of the universe is like a section. We don't know there's galaxy stars or anything. We have no information, therefore the defeat at best would be unquantifiable. And it could just be a bunch of space for all we know. And Fights actually brought up a good point in our Gojo versus Hero X video, where he said if it really was based off like outer space or something like that, then why the fuck is everybody breathing in his domain? So as you can see, it doesn't make that much sense. And I also don't think simply because they make it more godlike and visuals, that doesn't necessarily mean they are being literal with this statement, especially when there's nothing in the actual manga supporting this. Now, where I do think Gojo scales is he can get the island level, considering he can outright beat the shit out of Dagon, who created an island. He could actually get the planetary, because I, for one, among many other power scalers, am a little skeptical of believing that Yuki's strongest attack would actually be stronger than anything Gojo can produce. Even if it was a suicide attack, Gojo is literally depicted as the strongest. This is canon, and there is not really much of a debate about this. Like, him and Sukuna are basically the big dogs of the verse, and there's even statements of Sukuna being able to destroy the world potentially with all 20 fingers. So the interpretation of them potentially being planet level really is not as bad as some people say it is. If you disagree, like I said, it's completely fine. Just don't get mad at me for simply pointing out what's being said in the manga as well as the narrative that these two characters have. Hell, there is even a video game where Gojo, as a teenager, literally stated that he could just blow up a fucking mountain. So the city level to multi-city block shit doesn't even make any sense when you get to that point. Now, for speed, the speed one is really what actually gets on my nerves because it feels like gaslighting to a certain extent. And that is because people will literally say, oh, Hikari didn't dodge it. He either used a binding vow to send it to his arm, or Kashima was aiming for his arm, which doesn't make sense considering the fact we literally see it in front of his face. The only real interpretation that doesn't involve straight up headcanon is if Hikari just straight up moved out of the way, and it still managed to hit him because of the sure hit effect. And even then, Gojo not only massively outscales Hikari, but he outscales Kashima when using his curse technique, which literally utilizes electromagnetic waves. And you can even argue that Sukuna, when half dead, reacting to this. Obviously, characters like Gojo and Sukuna should be massively more powerful when at their best, and should just completely blitz and dominate Hikari and Kashimo to the degree that it would just be a straight up stomp. So I would personally side with them being probably a little bit faster and light, honestly. You can also make an argument for them being relativistic, maybe light speed, maybe a little bit slower. It's all up to your own interpretation, really. Now, the thing is Gojo was not popularized because of his power and speed. He was popularized because his hacks are kind of bullshit. He has his hollow purple, which can literally move at faster and light speeds and destroy you on the atomic level. The imaginary mass thing, people often try to say is a mistranslation. Gege actually understands English and doubled down on this in the anime as well as the manga multiple times. So saying that it is a straight up mistranslation, I think it's a bit dubious. And then we have things like red plus blue, red being propulsion, whereas blue is attraction. And then we have things like reverse curse technique. He's even able to regenerate entire ass limbs when Maharaga cut it off. Not just that, but he has his two main hacks abilities that people always love to talk about, being his domain expansion as well as his infinity. Now, when he opens his domain expansion, I actually believe this could be a potential win condition against Kuwabara because bro does not have the brain cells to spare. Like, let's be fucking real, Kuwabara's kind of an idiot. Anyways, back to the point. He can literally open his domain and basically bombard you with a fuck ton of information until you go brain dead and just die. I'm not even kidding, that is what it does. And it has a sure hit effect where he can basically throw his techniques at you and they would not miss. It also gives him a slight boost in power, as if this motherfucker needs another boost in power. Then we have things like his infinity, and oh boy, this is the main ability that got him popularized in power scaling. Now the issue is with his infinity, basically he made it automatic at one point, filtering out what could potentially be a threat, and his infinity would automatically detect this and slow it down, basically making it to where you could not reach him. And this is done by him controlling a finite amount of space. He mentions things like Ryzen theory. Well, actually the Ryzen theory was mentioned in the Gig Jump interview where actual mathematicians come and talk about his infinity. Check that out if you would really be interested. He also mentions things like Achilles and the tortoise and yada yada. In other words, you would have to meet specific conditions to actually bypass infinity. Now, does Kuwabara stand a chance against this? I actually believe he does. Because when you actually look at Kuwabara and his scaling, I don't think that attack potency is the biggest thing, but he still takes an edge in it. Because he was able to fight Sensui, who was already affecting the entire world with his raw aura and his raw spiritual power. Now this is important because when he started to power up and fight Kuwabara, Hiei, and Kurama, he was beating their ass. But it wasn't a one-shot. That's what's really important here. So you can argue that Kuwabara could stand a chance against Gojo and his attack potency. And what's more is, I don't think Gojo is a straight-up hands guy. He probably could output this energy with his atomic destruction using purple, just saying. What's more is, there is a meta from Genkai where she could potentially generate enough power to replicate that of our sun, and this is a bit dubious in my opinion, considering how the statement says a small star or whatnot, but you could have your own personal take on this and assume that this could upgrade the versus star level. The real kicker is the speed and the hacks. Going into hacks, we already know that Kuwabara has this massive sword. With his spirit sword, he can actually cut between dimensions, cutting through space and whatnot. And that is where Gojo has a massive disadvantage because that's actually how he died against Sukuna. Basically, Sukuna increased the range of his attack and attacked the entire space along with Gojo at the same time, cutting through them both. The reason he did this is because he got a manuscript showing the finite area that Gojo can control. Kuwabara actually has a better range than Sukuna, so that would be a massive disadvantage for Gojo. And with his speed, we already had things like the Spirit Gun potentially being light speed due to reflecting off of a mirror, as well as this one guy who was using photons and whatnot. And this really fucks Gojo over even more because we already know that Yu Yu Hakusho runs by this Dragon Ball ass thing where if you get strong, you get faster. And Kuwabara, who is a very reliable source in this specific situation because he is very well tuned when it comes to sensing spiritual energy and whatnot. And he actually said one guy literally got like 10,000 times more powerful. So you can use that to get them to potentially MFTL+. Even then, I seriously doubt that Kuwabara is slower, which would mean that more times than not, I think he would just beat Gojo's ass with his spirit sword. Now, if you want any more JJK or Yu Yu Hakusho videos, I do have a Cash App if you want to buy any videos. And if you want me to read a series, let me know down in the comments. I'm making a list so I can increase my range of characters I can scale and put on this channel. Anyways, everybody, you have a wonderful day, and there will be more videos in the future.